Hey there, Wargamers, Justin here, and today, boom, we're going to talk about my list from Southern Assault 2023. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the channel. If you are new here, please alpha strike that like and subscribe button. And if you're a returning viewer, I appreciate you having my back. Thank you for having my six. I appreciate you being an awesome lance mate, star mate, whatever the case may be for you. Thank you for being here to help support what I do. That said, today we're going to jump right into my list that I played at Southern Assault. I had a comment on Facebook asking now that the event was over if I would do the list breakdown. I have my list. I don't have John's. He didn't play, but the one that we play tested on the channel. I know John was... did not feel as though it was very competitive, but I do think he was downplaying a little bit. It was not far off from like one or two tweaks of that list in its entirety. Probably 95% of that probably could have been rolled into a competitive list. So that I don't have the full list to break down for you, but he's a good player, and if he made a couple tweaks, his list is probably good to go for Southern Assault as well. But he didn't get to make it this year, and I did. So I had a 375 point force. Technically not tournament legal, but I got approved by the TO to bring my list because my goal was to make sure people had a good time, teach them, do some trolley stuff, issuing patch hauls. So yeah, this was my list, 375, Jade Falcons. I dressed up, acted like a goofball while I was there. So right out the gate, we're looking at Malvina. I'm probably going to talk about this, then come back to it later. But this was one of the models they had to approve for me to be able to bring. This is the Black Rose. This is Malvina Hazen's Shrike. It has Jump Strong. In Bobby's tournament packet, you can only bring a total of two strong jump jets across your list, either two JMPS 1s or one JMPS 2. I have three strong jump jets on my list, unfortunately, but yeah, I wanted to bring the fluffy bird looking mechs, and that's what it was. The named status of this one was really easy to rectify. They approved me to bring this anyway, but I already had a list that made some adjustments and brought in a different unnamed Shrike. I personally do not think this is all that OP. It's a 664 assault mech. It does have strong jump jets, but if it jumps, it's treated as skill 5. She really didn't do much, even in the duels. It was just for the lulz. If people didn't accept the duels, she just would have been there. We'll get to another model on the list that I think was much better and more competitive than she actually was. After talking to Dave, it also sounds like in years past the reason the jump restriction was in place at Southern Assault was that the jump characteristic was not calculated properly or accounted for in the calculations in the back end for Alpha Strike and the MUL. So things with Jump Strong were innately better than a unit of the exact same stats that didn't have Jump because the points for having the strong jump jets weren't calculated. So much like some of the battle armors that got adjusted, the Jump Strong and the MUL has supposedly been fixed, so they were talking about maybe next year lifting some of those restrictions, at which point this list minus the Black Rose would be legal, and all I'd have to do is switch her out. So that said, we'll come back to her later. Let's talk about the battle armor that I had, because I had two of them. There's one, and there's two. So I had two Salamander battle armor, squad 5, 12 point value, 6J, 1 TMM, 3 damage at short, anti-mech, and fire resistance. So breaking down why I bring these: A, it's a unit activation. B, it's ablative wounds for a unit on the way in. C, it is a good alpha strike, because you can get behind someone, drop for 4 damage on the rear. Not bad. The Salamander battle armor was very, very common. Almost every game I played, someone had Salamanders. I think for the points, these are better in almost every way than an Elemental. The standard Elementals under the Elemental, I think it's 3 is pretty good, but it's pushing 20 points base. These right here over a regular set of Elementals of the same kind of status has more damage and I think 1 less life, but in general I think I would take the damage on these. The Salamanders that I saw were also the variants that had 2 short range damage instead of 3, but they had heat 1. So that comes down to taste and preference. If I had to do it again, I probably would bring the heat because heat is super helpful in Alpha Strike, so we'll probably have a video talking about that as well. But skill 6, when you're dropping behind someone of average TMM of 2, you need 8s to hit. If you're going against Inner Sphere, their average TMM is probably a 1, maybe 1.5. It depends on what you're hitting. So looking for 7s or 8s on average. Yeah, if the skill is 5, my odds would be a little bit better, but because I'm at short range, I'm calculating like, okay, 6 plus what's the TMM I'm likely going to be using these to go after, probably a 1 or a 2. On a slightly average or above average dice roll, I'm hitting. If you have the points, you can shave down or shave the skills back down. But bringing these in for 12 points apiece is really nice. It's not too bad. So I had 2 of those. I had a 10 model list. No, excuse me. Yeah, 10 model list. I wanted to have a 15 model list, but there's no way to make the points work for that. So I had the Pouncer here, coming in at point value 29, skill 4, 330, heat 1, not too bad. This guy was actually pretty nice. The 10J is pretty good. Being able to leverage that and take him from a TMM2 to a 3 is pretty good. The damage output's not bad, and the heat's pretty good. He was just a nice, just an average run-of-the-mill, pretty useful piece. Being able to sprint for 18 to get on objectives is pretty good. So yeah, I mean, nothing super fancy. The heat was a nice addition. Additional heat unit that I had on top of the Pouncer was the Blackhawk Nova for 1 point more. 10J, so the other one had 12 move 10J. This one just had straight 10J for 1 point more. 220 versus 330. This one has 1 more point more armor, 1 point more of structure for 1 more point of cost. And he's got OV2 and heat 222. So he can actually do heat at long range, which I actually missed that in the game. But raw stats for 1 point more, I think the Nova is just better. It doesn't have E and E, but it's doing almost as much damage. It has 2 points more total life, basically, over the Pouncer for 1 point more cost. It has OV2, whereas the Pouncer has no OV, and it can reach out and dish out heat at long range. So I think that Blackhawk was probably a solid pick, if for no other reason than that heat allocation is pretty nuts. Going into our light mech here, got the standard dasher I like to use. Skill 7, I know that people on YouTube land have said this is cheating. I get it. I know it's cheesy. It's the only 7 I had. I was allowed to have 2 7s. I only brought 1. But because of the way Alpha Strike works, this is just the way the game goes. If I wanted this list to be full-on fluff, where all of my units were skill 3 because they're clanners, and my star captain is a 2, or it's Malvina Hazen, she's probably like a 0 or 1. At Bobby's event, it caps at 2. The points are so expensive for clanners to do that you end up basically having like 5 models on the table, and it's really hard to play objective-based games that way. So I have to distance myself from the fluff, and this is just what happens. You have pawns that are cheap, and they reach out, and they do stuff. Now, that said, I play the odds. It is skill 7, but I know it's a light. I know I'm going to be fighting in the short range band mostly. If I had it my way, it'd be more like a skill 5, and then I'm hitting on an average roll of a 6 or 7-ish. Actually, no, sorry. 6 or 7, depending on what I'm fighting, which is not bad. It's average, which for me in my head means, because in this one's opportune fighting environment, if it was a skill 5, it's hitting on average. It means it's performing average, which is what this is, an average pilot. Now, in-game mechanics-wise, a 5, 6, or 7 is not an average pilot. It's a shitty pilot. But I know that it's going to be functioning at short range. I'm not going to be taking long-range shots on my Fire Moth. That's not where it wants to be. Its idea is to get in there and drop infantry behind you. If it was a long-range spotter, sure. But this guy's out there to leverage his TMM, harass, score objectives, get rear shots, and if it goes down, I'm only down 12 points. That sucks, but it is what it is. There are other variants of Fire Moths out there. I faced one with the 5 damage short. I don't like that because it's you end up spending more points, and it's so easy to take out. I don't like it. I did have to go up against a Wolfen, which I do like because Clan Wolf's my boys. Until Ward screwed things up. But I played against a Wolfen with stealth, TMM 4, and jump. So it was a +5 basically with jump, and then it's stealth at medium and long range. Plus, we'll say medium for the average here. It was a 6, and then my units were jumping. So like Hazen shooting that at medium range, when she jumped, needed 11s to hit it. I couldn't hit it. So that was actually pretty good. It's one of the few times I've seen a jump jet mech with stealth. It's like the Fire Moth, though. If you hit it, it's dead, but its survivability was just through the roof because it was hard to hit. It's like a Mirage. I also had to play that one on the mission where we had to get the infantry from the VTOLs, and he could get it, and I couldn't stop him. That is an instance where artillery would be helpful. I didn't have it. I didn't face any artillery, and I feel like a lot of people didn't bring it this year because it's efficient until it's not. And then a lot of the lists I saw, there were competitive ones that were combined arms. There was a lot that were just mechs because people just wanted to play. So Bobby's event's really, really casual. So moving on from the Dasher, we had the Gear Falcon. So I was running a different variant of this, but I dropped to this version. The standard gear, I feel like it's supposed to have a number here, but this might be the Gear Falcon 1, the standard one. It has a lot of gear or abilities down here. Flak didn't come up. Strong jump jets did. That gives them TMM4, which is pretty nice. Probe didn't come up, Recon didn't come up, OV Long did come up because I'd be stationary and I'd shoot 3 shots at long range, and then RFA, which is Reflective Armor, which reduces damage that he takes by 1, or in E&E and Heat by half. So that wasn't bad. He didn't do a lot of damage, but he was great for going on objectives. He's great to sit back and be stationary when my opponents likely wouldn't shoot at him. And I would usually get at least one turn where I could be stationary and try and reach out and do at least a little bit of damage. And if they shot at me, the RFA kind of mitigated. I don't know if he died in any of my games. I feel like because I talk about this in my videos a lot. His point value is really high, unfortunately, but because you're paying for the jump and all the other mess he's got. But because his damage value is so low, you can kind of get away with sitting back and being stationary a little bit more and doing stuff because your opponents usually shoot at things that are more of a threat. Or if I throw him onto objective, a jump jet team M4, they might ignore him again because he's not a threat and he's hard to hit. So you have to make them make choices, and if you make the choice easy for them, then they're going to shoot the thing that's an easy choice. If you give them options, they might make the wrong choice. And this is one of those where, like, if I'm honest, if you have an opportunity in Battletech and wargaming in general, it's a big secret, guys. Remove material when you can. So if you're looking at these two, right, and they're both at medium range, and this Gear Falcon takes a turn to be stationary and has no TMM, nuke him into oblivion and get him off the table. That's one less activation that I have, and one less model that I have, and that's less damage you're taking. Yes, the Mad Cat's a better target, but if he moves and he has TMM 2, and this guy's stationary and has no TMM, your odds of doing maximum damage to him are much higher. If you're going to leverage all that firepower anyway, trying to determine what you can kill versus what you can't. If you throw all that firepower into him and you don't kill him, and this guy just gets free reign for shooting, it isn't a lot of damage, but the next turn I run him and hide him. I get him into a more defensive position, right? And then that damage you dealt didn't actually do anything because you didn't remove material. So when you're making your decisions for your shots, think about, can I take something off the table, and is that thing I'm taking off the table worth it? Or am I putting shots into something that's going to run away and I can't finish it? So, I feel like I'm missing a card here. Ooh, is it in my bag? Let me see. Sure is? Okay. Cool. This was my last card I want to talk about. Alright, so Gear Falcon. Done with that one. So we have our Mad Cats, the Timberwolf W. My absolute favorite version of the Mad Cat currently. 66 points for 770. Not bad. I mean, compared to Malvina, for 4 points more, she's got less movement, less TMM unless she jumps, less damage output. She's got more life, and that is about it. She's got one more structure, and seriously, she only has one more life than the Mad Cat for an assault mech. Yo, get out of here. No. She's got to have more. The Mad Cat's got 8 life, and she's got 10. I see. Okay, so she's got 2 more armor. Sorry, 2 more armor, 1 more life, 4 points more. I'll take the Mad Cat all day. So, favorite variant, because he's moved 12, it's the only Mad Cat I've found with a movement over 10. Short of, actually, I don't even think the Jump Jet one has a 12. This catches people off guard. A standard Mad Cat can sprint for 15. This guy can sprint for 18. Not a huge difference, but it is big. This guy being able to move 12, that extra 2 inches every turn, like people positioning and they think they're just out of range. Nope, just in range. It's really, really nice, especially on a game that generally people are playing on a 4x4. You deploy this central, and if you're in the center, you have a 12-inch move left or right, and you're on a 24-inch wide table. Sorry, a 48-inch wide table, my bad. But if you move 12, you're moving a quarter in either direction of the table, and with a 24-inch threat bubble for shooting, he really can project his threat on the table. Like, he really does feel like what a Mad Cat should feel like. So this is my favorite variant. If you haven't used it yet in your game, I highly recommend you check it out. If you're playing a larger board where long range is more common, then yes, he's going to suffer from that. But once he gets into medium range, he's going to tear stuff up. He also doesn't have a lot of special abilities. I don't like paying for abilities if I'll forget stuff. So the less abilities I can get by with, the better. If I'm going to pay points or have something here, I want to make sure it's something I know how it works and when I'm going to use it. And if I'm not going to use it, is there a variant that is better with abilities I'm not paying for? Next up, we had the Hyro Falcon at 40 points, 12 move, 16 Jerry, 333 for damage, 2 armor, 2 structure, 5 armor, strong jump jet. So TMM basically a 4 when he jumps. This dude's absolutely nuts. You throw a battle armor on him, and you deploy central on the table, and most of those objectives that Bobby placed, if I pushed the center, he could pretty much jump to left or right, like the objective game where there was 3 down the center of the objective, or the deployment. I could place him basically central, see where my opponent goes, and then I could jump jet to whatever objective they didn't go to, which was super duper good with a Team M4. Get in there, get your points, get ahead, and then back off and start fighting your opponent. So nothing much to say beyond that. This is a really good movement piece, a really good piece too. Shove objectives, a good piece to do a little bit extra damage. It's just, this is a great little model. 40 points is a little high. But what it brings to the table, if you're a Jade Falcon player playing Ill Clan era, check out the Hyper Falcon. You won't be disappointed. It's super good. It also doesn't have a lot of special abilities you got to worry about, whereas the Gear Falcon does. Look at that. There's so much stuff that never comes up, or you have to look it up. Unless you know what Light Probe does or Recon, it's wasted. And that's if they're even using those rules in the game anyway. So, and finally, probably my MVP for the game, the Jade Hawk 3, 64 points. It's got a little less life than that Mad Cat, actually. The Mad Cat had 8 armor. This one has 7, and then 4 structure. So 1 point less life than the Mad Cat. It has 2 points. It costs 2 points less. Team M2, great. 10J, great. Skill 3, great. Damage 762, not a big damage difference. But the fact he's got OV2 and Team M2 is pretty solid. And that is where these two right here, or not these two, sorry. I was going to talk about Hazen. Yeah, we'll talk about the Jade Hawk more in a minute. I was going to get into a thing, but I want to end on that note. So we'll get to Hazen here. So Hazen here, 70 points, 4 points more than the Mad Cat, 6 points more than the Jade Hawk. I know we showed her briefly, but I leveraged her 10J almost every turn, putting her at Team M3 with all this HP was really good. Even if she wasn't doing an honor duel, she can usually help secure you an objective before she has to retreat back. You can use that armor and that bulk to soak some damage that your other units aren't getting hit with, because most of my other units, Team M is much higher. Well, I won't say much higher, is higher than hers when they're jumping with her. Where unlike other than the Mad Cat. So if anyone jumps, if the Jade Hawk jumps, it's a 3. If the Shrike jumps, it's a 3. The Mad Cat is a Team M2. Everything else in my force had Team M3 or higher. So you end up shooting things that are a little easier. She ends up being a pretty good target, but she has so much armor she can soak up, or so much life, so really helps her pushing objectives. And then when she gets beat up a little bit, you can take that 10J, jump back into cover, and let your other units rotate in and start taking hits while she sits back and snipes, or tries to. So pretty good strategy with that. I like her, but that strategy overall works better with the Jade Hawk. He didn't have as much HP to take the hits with, but he can jump. Or sorry, this one doesn't have jump, my bad. Oh, sorry, he does have jump. He didn't have strong jump, just by him. So being able to jump, leverage that Team M of 3, make your opponents have to deal with them. Throw the bodies on the altar of war, so to speak, to try and get objectives. Then back off, let your other units step up and start doing some work for you. This Jade Hawk in general, though, I liked being able to have 6 damage at medium range, which mirrors the Shrike. It's 1 point less than the Mad Cat. But at short and medium, I can overheat for 9 or 8, respectively. I do the Alpha, try and remove a unit, jump jet behind cover where they can't see me, or into cover or obscurity to minimize damage. Cool off a turn, re-engage. Alpha Strike if I need to, disengage, and alternate. And that's a strategy that I haven't done the video on it yet. I want to, but that's something that I noticed doing this in the games, that I was inadvertently doing something that Vandal, Craig Lighton, he did at Nova and talked to me about it. He's got a Ryokan with OV3 instead of 2 and 12 move. So he moves up, he overheats if there's a target he thinks he can kill. That's 3 heat on him, minus 6 move. He's still got 6 move left out of that 12. Background into cover or outside of line of sight, clear a turn, come back out, Alpha again if he thinks he can kill something, and then rotate. So, shooting every other turn. And his overheat almost doubles his damage. I think that Ryokan's like 4 or 5 damage maybe, and his overheat of 3. So it spikes pretty good. Yes, you're giving up shots every other turn, but if you spike and you take material off the table, which I just mentioned earlier, remove material when you can, it gives you more to work with towards beating your opponent and playing the objectives. So that strategy worked with the Jade Hawk, except to have jump jets, and your J move is not reduced by your heat. So I can take that 2 heat, jump the full 10 away, then re-engage. Jump the 10 away, re-engage. So that actually worked out really good, and the Jade Hawk was probably tied with my Mad Cat for my most effective mech. That was just super good. It was not what I expected, and turned out really, really well. So that was my list, 375 points at Southern Assault. It's the same list I played on YouTube recently before, actually the day of Southern Assault. I think it was that Saturday the video went live. This is what I played. That gives you guys some insight into what I did, what the units were for, how I viewed them, and if I had to make this tournament legal, we dropped the Shrike down to a non-black or non-named variant, and if I have to drop the jump jets because can't be fluffy now, and they still have the restriction of 2, I might drop the Shrike altogether and bring in something else. The problem with what I own though is the 2 mechs that weren't fielded. I have 5 battle armor, and I have 10 mechs, 2 stars. The 2 units that weren't fielded were Masakari and an Eerie, which is Eerie is another one of the strong jump jet winged people, or winged units, and the Masakari is not listed in the MUL for any clan except for Scorpio something or other in the Ill Clan era, which blows my mind because it seems like an iconic Battletech mech, right? Or clan or mech. So this was the path of least resistance, and I was telling like Bobby and Dave, I was like, if we can't get a special acceptance for me to play with these, I can't play Jade Falcon, period. The Pouncer fortunately has an Inner Sphere Clan General tag, so I could use it, but the Masakari doesn't. And when I built my list, I have a Gear Falcon, Hero Falcon, a Jade Hawk, which doesn't have strong jump jets, but I have it, a Shrike, and the Higher Falcon. So Higher Falcon, Gear Falcon, Jade Falcon, Shrike, and Gear Falcon. I think I got all of them. So 5 winged models for the Jade Falcons. 4 of them have strong jump jets. I didn't pick those because they're OP. I picked them because when I played Clicks, those were iconic to Jade Falcon, and in the Ill Clan they are. So they gave me special exception. I got to play. If I had to tone or throttle back on the strong jump jets, we probably rotate the Shrike out, and I try and bring another model in general. Or just play another army. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the army. If you are playing Jade Falcon, or you're playing Clanners in general, check out this Madcap. It's a great variant. If you're playing Jade Falcon, check out the Hero Falcon. It's super good. And if you have access to this for your list, check out the Jade Hawk. Great model. Thank you. Enjoy it. That said, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. As always, keep painting your models, keep rolling your dice, and I will catch you guys next time. If you made it this far, you're probably a viewer that already hits that like button when you see a video come up. You're probably already a subscriber, and you probably jump into the comments down below to help support the channel, to help support that algorithm. But if you're looking for some other ways to help support the channel too, make sure you check the description down below. Maybe you want to pick up some paints from Monument Hobbies. That's my paint of choice. The Pro Acrylic line is chef's kiss, good stuff. Maybe you want to check out some of the offerings from Death Designs, where I work in my day job. We got plenty of 3D printed products, as well as MDF terrain, some of the stuff that I have designed myself and we play with here on the channel. And if you're looking to bolster your Battletech ranks, miniatures, and offerings, make sure you check out Bobby from Fortress Miniatures and Games. He's one of the main supporters of the channel as well, and supporting any of these companies helps support what I do and helps to ensure that I can continue to bring content to all of you. If you want to become a super supporter, I highly recommend you guys check out the Patreon. You guys give that extra little edge to help push more content out, and I really do appreciate that. And my ultimate goal on the channel is to continue to be able to not only put out the content we have now, but to get to a point where you can put out more content later, whether that be battle reports or painting tutorials or just more rambles, anything at all. I'd like to be doing more content for you. This is something that I enjoy. I like being able to cast a light into the darkness to bring a little bit of hobby positivity to all of you and make you feel good, and also enjoy playing games myself. As we do the final sign off here though, I do want to go ahead and switch on over and do the scroll of awesome to showcase all the Patreon supporters, the super supporters of the channel, to give them some recognition for helping support what I do. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you guys next time.